Hi students, I'm Dr. Bhavna. In this lecture, we are going to continue with the topic that is called as ecosystems. So in the last class, we already have started with ecosystems. We have done about what are the components which are associated with ecosystems and all. So what are the four basic components of ecosystems? They are nothing but first one is like productivity. Second one is like decomposition. Third, nutrient cycling and energy transfer. So these are the four main steps which are associated with the components of ecosystem. So in the components, basically when we have started, first we have dealt about the productivity. So in the productivity, again I'm just revising for you. Productivity is usually of two different types. Mainly it is of primary productivity and secondary productivity. Primary productivity, it is the amount of biomass that is produced by the plants during photosynthesis. Then secondary productivity is amount of organic matter or the biomass that is produced by consumers. Producers are different and consumers are different. Producers means they prepare their own food. They are autotrophs and they help in the process of photosynthesis. They give food to the consumers. So they are, that's why called as primary producers. Secondary means they are consuming these producers. That's why they are called as secondary. So again in primary productivity, it is of two different types like gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. Gross primary productivity is the number of plants they also produce during photosynthesis. They prepare their own food, right? So the amount of biomass that is produced by the plants during photosynthesis is gross primary productivity. What is net primary productivity? Net primary productivity is the plants will breathe. They take an important role in respiration. So minus the respiration losses is nothing but net primary productivity. So the formula that is very important in neat point of view is gross primary productivity minus the respiration losses is equal to the net primary productivity. This may interchange like the gross primary productivity equal to net primary productivity plus the respiration losses, like that they'll change and give. So I want you to clearly understand what is gross primary productivity, what is net primary productivity, what is the secondary productivity that is produced by the consumers and all. I want you to clearly understand regarding that. So this is about the main concept of productivity. Next, we have started with decomposition. So I have told you decomposition means what? Breakdown of the larger, that is the organic molecules into inorganic, simpler molecules. Suppose carbon dioxide or solutes, they all are like organic molecules. They are usually broken down into smaller molecules, right? So when they are broken down into smaller molecules, they are forming, like this process is called as decomposition. And the detritus will play an important role in the process of decomposition. Detritus means what? The waste products, that is like the decayed leaves, the decayed flowers and all are, this is like detritus, which is from the decayed leaves and flowers we say. So again in the process of decomposition there are 5 easy steps. So easily you can remember, because in neat point of view so many times it was asked related to that of what are the, they'll give you one like they will give you one definition and they'll ask you to identify. In these steps only they'll ask you like about the decomposition process. So usually there are 5 steps. I already told you, like fragmentation first step, then is leaching, then it is catabolism, humidification and mineralization. So fragmentation means what? They are the detritus, the decayed leaves, the decayed flowers. They're broken down into smaller and simpler molecules by the process of decomposition. So the detritus is broken down into smaller particles is nothing but fragmentation. When it comes to leaching, leaching means what? The inorganic molecules which are formed from organic to inorganic is only decomposition. So the inorganic molecules which are formed, they are getting going down into the soil and they will get precipitated as unavailable salts. As unavailable salts, they are getting precipitated. So this composition, like this point of view, comes under leaching. Only point you should remember, wherever you see the word getting precipitated as unavailable salts, then it is leaching. Then next process is catabolism. Catabolism means what? The bacterial and fungal enzymes will act on this leaching, like on this process, and they form the inorganic salts. Wherever you see the term bacterial and fungal enzymes, then it will come under catabolism. Bacterial and fungal enzymes. Leaching means they're getting precipitated as unavailable salts. Next, the process is humidification. Humidification means by name only you can understand, like humus. Humus is present here. Humus is formed. What is humus? A dark colored amorphous substance which is formed. That is also the decayed matter which is present is by humidification process that is formed. The dead and decayed dark colored amorphous substance is nothing but the humus which is present, and this process is relating to that of humidification. Next, the topic is mineralization. Next step in this mineralization also, by name you can understand that minerals will act, numerous minerals will act on this. So in this process of mineralization, usually they are broken down into this humus which is formed in the fourth step is broken down into smaller particles by the process of the minerals. By utilizing all the minerals here, it is broken down into smaller particles. So these are the 5 steps which are associated with decomposition. I want you all to remember it in an order because it is very see, you should remember it in an order. After one step only, this is a sequence of events which we are following. So fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification, and then mineralization. So these are the 5 steps, the common 5 steps which are associated here. So broken down into smaller molecules, precipitation, bacterial and fungal enzymes, humus, and then mineralization. Next, the decomposition process, as I have described for you, it is a oxygen requiring process. Oxygen requiring process means what? Here what happens is usually there should be aerobic conditions. The environment should be favored for the process of decomposition. So the environment should be favored means what? Oxygen, like warm and moist environment should be present. Warm and moist environment. Warm and moist environment favor the process of decomposition, and decomposition may be slower or faster in some events. Like if it is slower means it is rich in lignin and chitin, rich during nitrogen and sugars. So decomposition process is slower in the presence of lignin. Two important neat questions which are asked: when is decomposition, when it will become slower? They'll give you like options: lignin and chitin, nitrogen and sugars, or during some chemicals, or none of the above. Like that they'll give you options. So I want you to clearly choose what are the exactly what are the factors which play an important role in the process of decomposition. So warm and moist environment should be present, the first thing. The second thing is it is usually slower if it is rich in lignin and chitin, and higher if it is rich in nitrogen and sugars. So this full process is about the decomposition. And next we have started with another topic that is called as energy transfer. Energy is usually transferred from one trophic level to other trophic level. From now I will use a word that is called as trophic levels. Trophic levels means, already I had told you, suppose in aquatic ecosystem, first the producers will come, next consumers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, like the different types will be there. So now I will tell you how the energy is transferred from one species or from one trophic levels to other trophic level. We use the term usually that is called as trophic levels. So first, when we start with the trophic levels, so when we start with the topic that is called as trophic levels, there are usually like four trophic levels. Energy transfer, the third component of energy transfer. The third topic of ecosystems is nothing but energy transfer. It is transferred from, so for all the plants to prepare their own food, what is the main mechanism? That is nothing but sunlight. Sunlight is the main mechanism for all the energy transfers from one place to another, like or see, for the plants to prepare their own food, sunlight is very much important. So of the incident solar radiation which is coming, less than 50% is par. Like how I can describe for you is, suppose the incident means the solar radiation or the sunlight which is coming to the earth's surface, so only less than 50% is par. What is par exactly? PAR means photosynthetically active radiation. Photosynthetically active radiation. Photosynthetically active radiation is PAR. Only less than 50% of the solar radiation which is reaching the Earth's surface, it is converted into PAR. So what is the use of the PAR basically? Photosynthetically active radiation. The use is like only 2 to 10% of the less than 50% which is reaching the Earth's surface, only the 2 to 10%, only 2 to 10% is utilized by the plants during photosynthesis. Only 2 to 10% is utilized. I want you to remember the numerical term of 2 to 10%, because here it is in NEET point of view, they'll ask numerous questions. What is the percentage of the power, how much it is reaching the Earth's surface and all. So it is usually about 2 to 10% which is reaching. How much is utilized by the plants is 2 to 10%. So that the plants can prepare their own food and it will be very useful for them, so that these plants are usually consumed by the next trophic levels. So next we will see about what are the trophic levels which are present. Of the four main trophic levels which are present, the first trophic level, first, then second, third, and fourth. So these are the four trophic levels which are present. And in the first trophic level, what will come under the first trophic level? They are nothing but the producers will come. The main producers, that is nothing but plants. They only prepare the food, right? So they will come under the producers. So this under first, it is called as producers, first trophic level. Under second trophic level, it is nothing but consumers. From the second trophic level, consumers will start. So under consumers, again it is of three types: primary consumers, secondary and tertiary. So primary consumers, secondary and tertiary. Producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. These are the usually three types of consumers which are present. So under primary consumers, it is nothing but, suppose you take terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial means what? Land. On the land what are present, and aquatic means you can see like in water what they are present. Suppose in producers, for anything, that is, it may be terrestrial ecosystem or aquatic ecosystem, plants only will come. So it is like producers are plants for the terrestrial ecosystem. For the aquatic ecosystem, for the producers, we don't say it as plants, we say it as phytoplanktons or some algae or some higher plants. Those all will come under the producers only. So phytoplankton. Next, under primary consumers. Suppose in terrestrial ecosystem, that is on the land, if we are referring, then what will come is like goats and all. They all are primary consumers because goats and all will feed on plants, right, directly. So they will come under primary consumers. Suppose you take in aquatic ecosystem, for phytoplanktons, what are the organisms which will feed on the phytoplanktons are zooplanktons. Zooplanktons. So these are coming under the primary consumers. Then the third one is like secondary consumers. Under secondary consumers, they are again terrestrial and aquatic. Suppose in terrestrial, we can say it as under secondary as well as tertiary consumers. It is nothing but man. Like suppose man will consume all the veg and non-veg food. Like veg means what we can say only plants as well as animals also. So they are considered under secondary and tertiary consumers. They will not come under primary consumers because we don't only feed on plants. We will feed on plants as well as animals. So this will come under the like a subheading like secondary or tertiary consumers. So we can say it as man. Then when you come in aquatic ecosystem, numerous insects, birds, as well as whales and all, or fishes, higher fishes, these all will come under secondary and tertiary consumers. Fishes or some bigger organisms. No need to get so much confused regarding this. It is a simple way to remember. Simply remember producers, first primary consumers, secondary, tertiary. You should remember that. Producers are only one, consumers will vary. Then next you have to remember what are the trophic levels which are associated with that. Suppose it may be first trophic level, second, third as well as fourth. And you should remember that from producers only first trophic level will start. So many people are like getting confused that from primary consumers it is starting from the first trophic level. No, from the producers only it is starting like with the first trophic levels. So because in NEET they were asking like what are the trophic levels which are associated with it. So when you say first trophic level, second trophic level, third, fourth, then it will vary from one to other. So the producers, primary, secondary, tertiary, and the examples also important here. In terrestrial it will vary and as well as in aquatic it will vary. Terrestrial are, suppose if I say only in terrestrial, I'll give you in an order. See, first is plants, then goat, then man. Like plants, goat, then man. You can say goat means herbivores, all types of herbivores like cow and all also will come under here. So this plants goat as well as man. Producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers. This full chain which we are talking about is also called as grazing food chain. Grazing food chain. Grazing food chain, you say it as grazing food chain. There is also another type of food chain that is called as detritus food chain. Detritus food chain. One is grazing food chain, other one is detritus food chain. I'll tell you about the detritus food chain. First, we will see, now I have told you this is terrestrial ecosystem which comes under, like terrestrial way of depicting the ecosystem. Then another one is like what we say aquatic ecosystems. So in the aquatic ecosystems, basically, again they are of like three types which will vary. Like first is like phytoplanktons, then zooplanktons, then fishes. Phyto, zooplankton, and fishes. This is again coming under the this is aquatic ecosystem. This is terrestrial. For you to easily understand, I wrote like this. See, for this is terrestrial, this is aquatic. I want you to write in an order so that you can easily remember regarding this. And then these two are depicting the grazing food chain. But this grazing food chain is usually most common in the what we say in aquatic ecosystem. It is more common, that is in water it is most commonly or most widely used is the grazing food chain. Mostly we use it in aquatic ecosystem. Then what we use in the terrestrial ecosystem, it is nothing but the grazing food chain. No, the detritus food chain we use. Grazing food chain is for aquatic, detritus food chain is for terrestrial. Is for terrestrial. So terrestrial, aquatic, it will vary. And now I will tell you about the detritus food chain. So under the detritus food chain, till now we have seen about the grazing food chain. Now we are talking about the detritus food chain, right? So in the detritus food chain, what are the things I told you which play an important role in the process of decomposition? They are also called as like detrivores. Detrivores. They play an important role in the process of decomposition. Like they play an important role in dead and decayed organic matter. They play an important role, like they decompose the organisms. So that's why they are called as decomposers or detrivores. They are also called as saprotrophs. Decomposers, what is the other name of decomposers? It is nothing but saprotrophs. So on these decomposers, bacterial and fungal enzymes will act on these decomposers. Bacterial and fungal. Bacterial and fungal enzymes will act on these decomposers basically, and they play an important role like catabolism, how I have described in decomposition. So basically like that only these bacterial and fungal enzymes will act and they degrade the detritus into smaller particles. Why we are giving like detritus food chain a separate point is like because we already have talked about the decomposition process. Same process is repeating in this detritus food chain. That is only like detritus food chain. Suppose earthworms and all, what they will do? They help in decomposing the soil, like they make the soil fertile. How all this decomposition process is taking place? Because they are also called as decomposers, and bacterial and fungal enzymes will act here on them, on the soil they will act, and like that this full process is taking place. So this is about the detritus food chain, and I told you important point that you should remember is detritus food chain is usually seen, like it is usually most common in terrestrial ecosystems. Terrestrial. Whereas in aquatic ecosystem, the most common one is uh, in aquatic ecosystem, the grazing food chain is most common. And now, so we are talking about the how is the energy transferred from one trophic level to other trophic level. How is the energy usually transferred? See, normally the plants are eaten by the herbivores. The herbivores are in turn consumed by the higher level like man and all. So these all are secondary and tertiary consumers, primary, secondary, tertiary. It is varying. The three different types are varying. So these are the three most common issues that are related to that of what we say the process of the decomposition and all. So the energy is usually transferred from lower trophic levels to the higher trophic levels. Energy is transferred. So this point of like this type of transfer of energy from one trophic level to another trophic level is following a rule that is called as 10% law. 10% law. 10% law means what? 10% is getting transferred from one to another. Almost 10% is transferred usually. For every trophic level, when it is transferring, some amount of energy is usually lost. Suppose from plants to the herbivores, then to man. It is usually 10% is usually transferred. It is reduced. The energy is reduced because plants will have so much energy. They are preparing their own food and all. And when they are consumed, 10% is lost. Only 10%. So this rule is called as 10% law. The type of energy that is transferred or consumed from one trophic level to another is by 10% law. Another one is what is the definition of the standing crop? Standing crop, important neat question which is frequently asked. What is standing crop? The amount of biomass or the amount of energy that is transferred from one trophic level to another is called as standing crop. Till now in ecosystem we have dealt with two definitions. One is like stratification, that is vertical distribution of species in from one trophic level to another is called as stratification. By name only you can understand. Strata means what? Stratification means vertical distribution of species, one strata to another, vertical distribution. So that is called as stratification. That definition is different. The another definition here comes out as what is standing crop. Next also standing state, numerous definitions will come. Now I want you to clearly understand what is standing crop. So the amount of biomass that is transferred from, or the amount of energy that is transferred from one trophic level to the another trophic level is called as standing crop. It is measured in terms of biomass or weight. How it is measured? It is measured in terms of biomass or weight. So you all have clearly understood that from one trophic level to another trophic level, the you see the energy is transferred, how much amount, it is by 10% law. And then about the standing crop definition also you have understood, that is amount of energy that is transferred from one trophic level to the another. So this is about the third component of ecosystem, that is nothing but energy transfer. In the next class we will see about what are the ecological pyramids, then next about the nutrient cycling and all. I have revised the most points in today's class, like I have described about the first is starting topic from what are the components, productivity, decomposition and energy transfer. I have given a clear idea. If they ask you in flowchart also you can answer. Next topic is like very important and neat point of view, ecological pyramids. They'll give you a pyramid and ask you to identify what are the, how much amount of biomass is present in producers, consumers and all, they will ask you. So I want you to clearly understand regarding that. So just go through this topic. It is very easy topic if you understand. And I want you all to write down all these points so that it will be very useful for you in neat. Last, you can revise all of these topics in the last moment if you write now. Because I'm trying to explain you in a, what we say, in a very short and simple form, so that it will be very useful for you in the future. Okay, so yeah, next class we will continue with the ecological pyramids.